La Fortuna, Costa Rica, from adventurous ziplining and adventurous whitewater tubing to relaxing hot springs or paddling on the lake. In this video, we have an interview with an expert because Costa Rica wasn't as easy for me to plan and execute as I thought it would be. So let's jump into this conversation in the car in Costa Rica.
I'm here with Diana. We're talking about top things to do in La Fortuna. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Diana Heckler, president of Detours Travel. That's a small agency outside of New York City. And I've been coming to Costa Rica for many, many years, and I've been sending a lot of people to Costa Rica for many, many years. And every single one of them comes back saying, I love it. And a bunch of them say, on my next trip, I want to go to this other area that I didn't see.
Yeah.
So that's been a wonderful development in my business, is this wonderful focus on this really friendly and beautiful country with a ton of things to do.
Yeah, love it. Let's get into it. I'm excited for this one because La Fortuna was so much fun to adventure and relax in. There really is something for everyone. And I'm curious what some of the top activities that you love to send people to do in La Fortuna.
I'd have to say number one is ziplining.
It really is fun.
Yeah, and ziplining was invented in Costa Rica, and for many people, if they've heard one thing about Costa Rica, it's ziplining. And La Fortuna is a great place to do that. There's more than one operator. There's a bunch of them. And so some of them are more adventurous, some of them are a little slower or faster, but pretty much everybody wants to go to La Fortuna says to me, ziplining, yes.
Ziplining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second one I would say that most people do is to do the Mystico hanging bridges.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful, and there is some wildlife there. It's not like you're going to see hordes of monkeys, but you could see some monkeys there. But it's really beautiful, lush. You've got these suspended bridges which allow you to go deep over these ravines into the rainforest. That's why they were built, so you could really take a walk in there. You know, you need to be able to walk easily. You know, it's not stroller friendly.
Correct.
It's really not.
It's not super strenuous.
No.
But it's not it's not a simple stroll.
Correct. For one thing, you're going uphill part of the time, and then downhill at the end.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's well marked, and the paths are good, and there's railings, so it's not like you're, doing anything that's going to scare you. But yeah, I think you need to be able to feel like your knees are in good shape.
Absolutely. And I also would say one thing about Mystico is it makes a really big difference to be there with a guide.
Oh God, yeah.
Because otherwise you're just walking through. I guess you could say this about any place or a museum at fill in the blank, but you don't know what you're looking at.
That's exactly right. And some of the stories that are most amazing are very small. Yep. Like you might not even see it. So it might be plant life, it might be leafcutter ants.
Yep.
It might be somebody telling you, look at this tiny little thing.
Yep.
And going, that's amazing. Yeah. So yes, you need to have a guide there for sure.
Mystico is your number 2. What would be your number 3?
I think probably most people are interested in the La Fortuna Waterfall, which you can do either by driving up to it and having a snack and taking the steps down and back up, or some people do the horseback ride to the waterfall. And when you go down to the bottom, you can go swimming if you want, and so you often bring a bathing suit,
right,
and come back up. And so the horseback ride is another element. But the thing that's so wonderful about La Fortuna is what you do depends very much on who you are. Some people are up for like serious adventure or soft adventure, and other people are like, I don't need to do anything that scares me. So tell me what those things would be. Again, I'd come back to ziplining and Mystico, but someone else, might say, yeah, I want to do the, the tubing, the
whitewater tubing.
Whitewater tubing.
That was an adventure.
Yeah.
I was screaming like a child in the best way throughout that, but it is definitely not for everyone.
Right.
And while I was doing that, what were you doing?
I was at the Tabacon Hot Springs.
Enjoying yourself, which those are absolutely beautiful. I cannot talk about them enough.
Right. So I am less adventurous than some people, but yes, we have the tubing that you did. You've got kayaking on Lake Arenal. You can do whitewater rafting also, at various levels. It's not very far away. I think you can do a float trip also, not very far away, maybe an hour and a half away, where you really will see wildlife. Yeah. And come back in one day. So again, kind of depends on who you are, but all age levels, all interest levels, adventure, more calm, whatever. There's something for everybody there.
Yeah, and I also know one of the top activities is canyoning as well.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Canyoning is great, particularly if there are teenagers involved, because, another name for that is rappelling. And it's not, rappelling is not hard, but you do have to be able to get over any fear of heights you have, because yes, you are going to be on a rope coming down the side of a cliff. I've done that once in my life and it was really fun, but it was a sort of a mental thing also, like, oh my gosh, you know, can I really do this? The answer is yes. So rappelling or canyoning is not hard, but it might sound a little scarier than it actually is when you do it.
Yeah, and I actually, to be honest, was very surprised for the operators that you chose to send me with, how important safety is in all of them.
Oh, absolutely.
I felt like it was the opposite of some of the things I feel like when I'm in Guatemala or in Mexico or in other places, where safety is kind of a maybe. But here, I felt totally different.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point because, for instance, let's say that you're scheduled to go rafting on a river or doing the kind of tubing that you did yesterday. If the water's too fast, they don't want you on it.
Right.
You know, safety is their number one concern.
Yeah.
So certainly with the ziplining thing, that's a very well-established thing with built-in safeguards, you know, multiple levels of safeguards. But for things that they can't control, like water-based activities, yeah, if it's not safe, they don't want you there and they won't take you there. So you never really have to worry that I'm getting in over my head, literally. No, they're going to prevent you from doing something that's dangerous.
Yeah, I love that. I think one thing I want to talk about is, because it really is, especially with Tabacon, such a beautiful thing to do, which is the hot springs. But one thing I noticed was how many different places there are to go to hot springs. Is that specific to the La Fortuna area, or is it kind of everywhere in Costa Rica?
No, it's very much specific to La Fortuna. And you know, one thing I didn't mention about activities was the volcano hike. The reason that La Fortuna ever became a tourist destination was because of the Arenal volcano, which, if you've never seen a picture of, is the perfect picture of a volcano. It is a cone. And when you look at it on a day with blue skies and that volcano there, and maybe there are clouds drifting across, it is mesmerizing. And so yes, you can do a volcano hike up halfway. You do not go up to the top and look over the rim. No, I mean, to be clear about that.
Right.
But you can go about halfway up, and the volcano is just a magnet. And after the volcano really sort of got people's attention, these other activities grew up around there. So there's no shortage of things to do. And I think people are inventing new things all the time. I didn't mention ATVing also. That's very much, you know, very common to do there. And you see a lot of operators that are offering that.
Yeah, but I also feel like with ATVing, it's also one that you need to be a little bit more cautious of, because you're in a rugged terrain. And that's one where I think it's very fun, especially in this kind of environment, to be ripping through the rainforest or jungle. But are there any cautions that you would have towards ATVing for people?
I think that you need to make, I think the easiest thing to do would be to talk to the concierge at the front desk of your hotel.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, I'm considering this. What do you think? What's your favorite operator? And getting a sense of, you know, have they had any problems? You know, is their equipment up to date? I mean, I agree with you. You know, I would put a caution on ATVs, but as you go through La Fortuna, you will see a whole bunch of outfitters offering that.
Yeah.
And one thing I asked myself is which are the best operators to go with? And that's why I chose a custom Costa Rica trip. We have amazing packages and over 50 years of combined experience sending really happy travelers to Costa Rica. This is why I decided to work with two travel experts that can really create the trip that you are looking for. Whether you want something that's already packaged or something a little bit more custom, that's what we're here to help you with. Check out the info in the description below, and this video is part of a series. Don't miss the next one. Ciao.